Recording. All right. So I'm very delighted today that we have a guest bhikkhuni. She's a dear friend of mine. Although we were speaking recently, we've actually not met that many times, but sometimes, you know, when you practice together, when you're on the same path together, it's a very deep connection. A lot of trust, I think, is there. And we're both trying to, you know, live our lives as bhikkhunis and also create the conditions that will support us. We're not walking into ready-made conditions the way that many monastics, especially monks, would be. So it's really wonderful, you know, to be able to check in together and talk about our struggles, our inspirations, and I'm hoping that we can share some of that with you this evening. So I'd like to just say hi to Ayya Adhi. We're going to do a meditation first, and she would like me to guide that. So I'm sorry, but you're stuck with me again, at least for the meditation. And then we'll have a little bit of dialogue between myself and Ayya Adhimutti. And after that, we'll have about half an hour where you could also ask your questions if you have any, or share anything you like, just feedback on maybe some of the discussion or anything else at all. It's really your space. So I just like to say hi to Ayya Adhi and maybe, yeah.
Hello, Venerable Chand. Very nice to see you. So I'm here from New Zealand, Aotearoa, and it's very early in the morning and very cold. So it's very nice to see you.
So you're wearing your kind of jacket. I think it's the woolly jacket that we had at Santi, isn't it?
Right, the Bodhinana and Santi, yeah.
Right. So yeah, Ayya Adhi is a New Zealand bhikkhuni, or what's the name in
Aotearoa.
Can you say it again?
Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll do proper introductions and you'll get to hear from Ayya Adhi a lot more after the meditation, but let's start by settling into our practice a little bit. For me, the practice always begins with one last swig of tea. But that's important because it's part of making the body comfortable. I can see some of you are sitting outdoors, which is lovely. We finally have nice weather here in England. It's really great to see a big turnout today. So just closing our eyes if you're comfortable to do that. And with your eyes closed, connecting with your inner eyes. Feeling the body, coming in contact with what it's like to just sit. You may have chosen a cross-legged position and notice the strength, the stability that posture gives. Or perhaps you're seated on a chair, a sofa. You may even be lying on a bed. Just notice how that supports your posture, your bodily ease. And check if there are any adjustments that you need to make to bring about more comfort in the body and in the mind. Making sure your ankles, your shins are not pressing together but have enough space. Or if you're on a chair, perhaps just moving your ankles slightly forward so the weight, the pressure in the knees falls down into the ground. Checking through your spine. Finding the best position for your spine, perhaps upright, perhaps slightly leaning back. Sometimes we're very tired, and in the beginning we may be slightly hunched, which is fine. As the energy increases, you may find your body naturally straightens up. And checking that your shoulders are a little bit loose and relaxed. I usually like to roll my shoulders a bit and hear them click, giving them permission to release any tension, and that tension to just flow down through the arms. Adjusting the position of the hands if you need to. I'm noticing how you've positioned your head. Is it well balanced on the neck? And relaxing the facial muscles, especially those areas of the face where we hold a lot of tension, often between the brow, maybe in the temples. I like to imagine these areas gently expanding, as though giving my brain more space. Checking your jaw, perhaps gently parting the teeth. And just imagine all those tensions, that holding, tightness, pressure, just draining away. The only person you need to show up for is yourself. Really landing, settling, inhabiting the here and now. If you wish, you're welcome to practice in your usual way, establishing mindfulness along with the motivation of kindness. Otherwise, I'd like to invite you to join in a simple reflection, noticing how it feels to be surrounded by spiritual friends, sensing the support of the community who many of you now belong. People you don't maybe know personally, but who you've been practicing with for at least the last year. People who, like you, have beautiful, pure intentions to develop their hearts and minds in the direction of wisdom, freedom and peace. People whom you can trust are doing their best not to cause harm to themselves or others. People like you. See if you can tune in to that felt sense of the support of a group of practitioners. Supported today by 2 bhikkhunis who've dedicated their lives to the monastic path. Such a rare thing to find. The opportunity to take full ordination, to renounce and live as a bhikkhuni in this world. And it brings me a lot of joy to be practicing with a fellow bhikkhuni who's very sincere, developing beautiful qualities of heart. The kindness, the courage, commitment to persevere through all the obstacles that we inevitably face, that all of us face in different ways. And sensing into your body, into your heart, see if you can notice any uplift, gladness, confidence that may arise, knowing you're not alone. You're surrounded by spiritual friends. And if you wish, you can join me in dedicating your practice to everyone in this room. So the practice is not for you, for your own attainment, to get anything out of this, but we're practicing just as a gift for each other, just to be of support. This can facilitate the right motivation of giving, of letting go. So just see what your mind needs right now. If you want to stay with open awareness of the body, the mind, relating to it with kindness, or whether the breath comes up for you into your mind. And you feel to rest your mind on that breath. Regarding every moment of mindfulness and kindness as a gift to your fellow meditators here and to all beings in this world. And meditation doesn't have to be special to be a gift. The content of your mind is not the most important thing. But every moment that you're mindful and you're kind, you're taking a step towards peace, a step in line with the Dhamma. And just that simple step is your gift. So we're coming close to the end of this meditation. You can still make your gifts every breath, every moment that you're present with kindness. And I'd like to end by just sharing the blessings of our practice. May we all be happy. May we be safe and well. May we all be peaceful. live happily and at ease. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from physical, mental suffering, from fear. May all beings be healed. May all beings be at peace. Good. And when before you open your eyes, you might wish to smile inside and even smile with your lips. It's really nice to open our eyes and see each other's peaceful, smiling faces. Great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change the recording so that myself and Ayya Adhimutti are like pinned to the screen. And that means that when it comes time for you to ask your questions, your faces will not show. So you'll be able to ask your question live if you wish, and your voice will be recorded, but not your face or name. So the recording will stay on us. Of course, if you're still shy, you're very welcome to put any comments or questions in the chat box, but please wait until we've had a little discussion first, and we'll come to that in about half an hour. I'll give you a prompt. Okay, so let's see. Yes, great. So are we ready with the pinned thing, Rennie? Yep, great. So again, a very warm welcome to Ayya Adhi, and sorry, maybe I should say Ayya Adhimutti Bhikkhuni, known as Ayya Adhi to me. And it's really nice, even Bhikkhunis, we do tend to address each other as Venerable or Ayya, because there's just that sense of mutual respect, and I think it engenders a kind of certain way of relating to each other. I think it's really nice. And I thought, I could tell you a bit about Ayya, but I'd really rather her do it in her own words. And so I wanted to ask you, Ayya, if you would be willing to share a little bit about your path to ordination and maybe what attracted you to the Dhamma and to monastic life, just in brief.
Okay, well, anyway, first of all, just to say hello to everyone. I really felt very connected to the worldwide community while we were meditating together. It felt like an amazing field kind of opened up. And also thank you to Venerable Chanda for guiding such a beautiful meditation and connecting us so deeply. So my appreciation for that. And I was really feeling the bhikkhunis who came before us, who just completely dedicated themselves to the path and the fruits of their work kind of carrying us. So just to acknowledge that first, it was very beautiful. And of course, all the beings, all the devas who are, supporting us, and also have the wish to see the Bhikkhuni Sangha re-established. I really felt their presence as well. So really, really lovely. For myself, in terms of my path, I think it's fairly typical maybe of spiritual seekers. As a young person, I was just really searching for something to give my life to, I guess. And for a long time, I had a deep restlessness. I was thinking to become a scholar, because for me, that was the only way that I saw in my life as a Western kind of person, to go deeply into life and to understand it. And I just had a feeling, though, before I kind of dedicated myself to a path of research, I wanted to find the question that I wanted to ask and really come to my work with a kind of full-hearted, I don't know, integration, whatever. So I was looking for my deep question, and just this deep feeling of restlessness was with me. And I went to India to study Sanskrit, actually, before I was going to do my graduate studies. And I used to go across to Sri Lanka to renew my visa. And so I stayed at a meditation center there and did some retreats. And when I first encountered the meditation, I just had this feeling, oh, this is really what I've been looking for. This is the way that will open the path. And from that moment, I just knew this would be what I dedicated my life to. And I was reading books by the Dalai Lama and different things. And then I just started thinking about becoming a monastic. And I ended up in Thailand doing very intensive Mahasi practice for a few months. And during that time, I just knew I had to ordain. So I went to ask my Ajahn. I said, Ajahn, can I ordain? And he looked a little bit surprised, but he just said, Dika, you can. And then 3 days later, I shaved my head, and I put on, at that time, the only thing available was a Mechi robe. So I went forth as a Mechi. So anyway, that's how it all started. So yeah, so very grateful that there was that path. Despite all the hardships, there's just a real beauty to be able to just go as deeply as you can, and ultimately to find a path to liberation. I think that's very, very precious and very rare. So I just feel just incredibly grateful to have had this opportunity in this life to, dedicate my life to something meaningful that also can help so many other people and provide refuge for so many other people. So.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. It's really all about that, isn't it? Just the deepening of the practice and, as you say, providing refuge for others. I think when we have those two things together, then the path really takes wings, if you like. But I'm curious just to explore a little bit further the path from ordaining as a 8 precept, essentially kind of somewhere between a non, the sort of form of being a non that's understood in Thailand, and some people only regard that as a sort of lay aspirant on 8 precepts, and your journey into the full ordination. I'm presuming that took a little time and was not very straightforward.
Right, sure. Well, yeah, so when I ordained, I was pretty naive, I had just been meditating full time, and I didn't really understand the difference between Mechi and Bhikkhu. So it actually became as a huge shock. And so on the one hand, I'd found this very beautiful path, and you meditate and a whole world opens up you didn't know existed, and you feel incredible faith and incredible inspiration. But then you look around, and you see even grown women bowing to Samanera, and also as I progressed, I was looking for places to deepen my practice, and there wasn't anywhere that I could go as a Mechi. As a lay woman, you could go to some monasteries. As a Mechi, maybe you can stay for 2 weeks. So I kind of hit against the limits of the system. And when I was in Thailand, actually, some of the neighboring nuns, they went across and took seminary ordination. And so I was very interested in that. And I also had the chance to go to the Sakyadhita conference at that time. I was very lucky. It was in Malaysia. And there I saw a lot of bhikkhunis, and this was just a complete revelation to me. I saw these very strong, confident, learned, well-practiced women who were just, had a sense of, I guess, authority and power, and just, they were really representatives of the Dhamma. And being in Thailand, I really found that for myself and for others, the Mechi were very much on the back foot, very kind of, I don't know, they didn't really feel like anyway, there was just a contrast. And so at that point, I really felt I wanted to become a bhikkhuni. And also in Thailand, I wasn't able to find a place to really dedicate myself to the practice. Of course, it's different in Myanmar, the Tila Shindu, but in Thailand, it just was very difficult. So I ended up going back home. I ended up disrobing briefly and just looking for a place for the practice. And I was really lucky that I wrote to Bhante Sujato and the Venerables at Santi. And they welcomed me there, and there were bhikkhunis there. And that was just very inspiring. I remember that time I was really searching for a place to go and to practice, and I couldn't find anywhere, and it was quite a period of time. And I was very kind of depressed and disheartened. And finally one night I wrote to Bhante Sujato and the community there, and they wrote back and, said, come, if you're diligent, you can be a bhikkhuni, you can have a kuri, you can meditate. So I was just very, very happy to find that. So yeah.
Where did you take the bhikkhuni ordination?
In America, in the end. Ayya Adhi was actually my preceptor for my seminary ordination in Australia. And then I ended up going to Aranyabodhi and took bhikkhuni ordination in 2010.
2010, yeah. It's wonderful. So you're already a Teddy, a senior bhikkhuni. It's wonderful. Wonderful. So I wanted to ask a bit more about maybe some of the obstacles that you face, maybe in monastic life or in your practice, and also where you get your inspiration from.
Hard questions first thing in the morning. I'm a bit sleepy. Sorry, everyone. Well, I think the biggest obstacle has just been finding a place for the practice. I think there's a lot of opportunities for bhikkhunis to serve the community in many ways. There are many bhikkhunis now in Sri Lanka, over 1,000 or a few thousand. There's more and more in Thailand. And to find an opportunity where you can study and share the Dhamma is not too difficult. But for myself, if one is really dedicated to, I don't know, when I ordained, actually, I was really inspired by the forest monks, right? Just living really simply, taking my alms bowl into a village and just practicing really deeply. And so that's really my inspiration from the beginning. And that's really what I've been looking for. And to find the context to really just give oneself to the practice at that profound level, that I found very difficult to find. And after many years, 14 years of looking for such a place, I actually found it in Myanmar at the Bhikkhuni Monastery there. But really it did take 14 years to find a context where I wasn't really busy helping set things up, helping organize things, or just trying to stay afloat. But somewhere I could just full-time dedicate myself to the practice. So I think that's probably the biggest obstacle is just finding a deep context for the meditation. Yeah.
And also just to mention that even in Myanmar, it's quite difficult to go there as a bhikkhuni and to practice as a bhikkhuni. It is. You have to be very, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could go there because I might be known, and bhikkhunis are actually illegal in Myanmar.
It is very difficult. I was very lucky, and it was very difficult. So
it's not easy. So I guess that inspires you a little bit to try to come back to the West and to establish something here.
Right. Yeah.
Knowing that there aren't really enough places for women in particular to go. But also, I'm wondering what you think the advantages are of practicing as a bhikkhuni and also creating more bhikkhuni monasteries, because I don't think it's only a benefit to women. It can also benefit obviously ourselves, our own practice, and other people too in the society.
So you mean in terms of benefits for men as well as women, or you mean the general society?
Yeah, I guess both, and also the benefits to the bhikkhuni herself, because it's obviously not an easy path to take. So what are the benefits to practicing as a bhikkhuni and also to offering the Dhamma as a bhikkhuni for the society?
Well, I mean, for myself, I think if one has the aspiration to be a monastic, then the bhikkhuni form really provides the most coherent and clear container for that dedication. I think there's many things. I mean, the Buddha set up the Dhamma Vinaya for us. And I know that in Thailand, there was a community, the community I was talking about, who went across and became Samaneri and then ultimately Bhikkhuni. They actually lived together as Meiji for 20 years before that. And the leader, the Venerable Mantayani, she's very inspiring and a very well-known meditation teacher. And one thing they found when they moved across to Bhikkhuni form was their community became a lot more harmonious, because, you know, the Buddha in our Vinaya, there's a lot of protocols around how to relate to each other as community and how to approach different issues. And so, you know, really the Vinaya does provide the ideal container for the monastic life to flourish. Mm-hmm. And of course, other forms are possible, but they're just difficult. And so I think the Bhikkhuni form does give us the fullness of the monastic life. And I also feel like in the beginning, the way the Buddha set up the Sangha, or, you know, it was a fourfold Sangha, right? I think of the Dhamma like this great tree, you know, that provides shade and refuge for everyone. No one is left out. So it's bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, laymen, laywomen. There's a place for everyone. And I think that this is really the advantage of bringing the Bhikkhuni Sangha back to life, is there's no conflict at the margins, there's no pushing people away. But, you know, the spiritual life, I mean, we're going beyond gender in many ways, and beyond our external form. The mind doesn't have gender, you know. The mind, yeah, we're not meant to be emphasizing these things. We're meant to be brothers and sisters together, or monastics together. You know, laymen, laywomen, everyone has a place. Everyone is fully empowered. Everyone, whether they're lay or monastic, male or female, can really offer the wisdom that they have. And so the original format was that was the Buddha's vision. And so I think bringing that to life is very, very beautiful. And in terms of why, I think in contemporary society, when I look around in New Zealand, there's not many places where you can really come to a deep place of peace, that you can really go deeply into the mind, and that there's really the path to Nibbana. And so I feel like offering that within the context of the community I'm in, I feel like it's something missing. And so I think that's just very beautiful to be able to open that up. I mean, ultimately, we would like a meditation hermitage where people can go and they can practice as long as they want and as deeply as they feel inspired to do. So, I think, yeah.
Great. Can you say a little bit, just to end up before other people ask questions, about your practice and maybe some of the teachers that have inspired you, and maybe anything at all really that you'd like to share?
I don't know.
What's your understanding of meditation, like just in a nutshell?
I don't know.
Simple
I mean,
advice.
Just, you know, understanding reality, right? Being able to see reality deeply and being able to be free. For myself, one of the inspirations to becoming a monastic was that I saw qualities in monastics who'd been in, you know, the robes for a long time that I'd never seen in a human being before. And being around them, you know, you just feel, I don't know, a certain energy. It's just very inspiring. So, yeah. And so it's just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just went straight to the heart of the matter, you know, seeing reality as it is. And I think there are many ways to that. And often it's just finding a way in that resonates for us. And I think, you know, that's part of having more places, isn't it, for both bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and as you say, the fourfold assembly as well, so that we do have more options, and we can find communities where we resonate with the others practicing there, because there are so many different ways to practice, so many different methods of meditation, but we do need to have some choice. And lastly, just before I open up, because we've got lots of time, which is great, how would you say that lay people can best support the Bhikkhuni Sangha? Like, for example, in New Zealand, what are your needs over there? And what do you think is really missing the most for Bhikkhunis in general?
Well, you know, in New Zealand, I'm very lucky. So I would say I'm in an exceptional situation here. So yeah, I mean, I think bhikkhunis just need everything that bhikkhus need, right? I mean, the 4 requisites, people knowing about them. Sorry, as I say, it's too early in the morning.
No, it's beautiful.
But just, you know, just think about the ways that bhikkhus need support, and the bhikkhunis need the same thing, really. You know, respect, appreciation, friendship, people being interested. And I guess also maybe the biggest thing is people holding the vision together and thinking about the question, so how can we bring the fourfold Sangha to life in this world, and kind of working together on that, because the bhikkhunis are often quite isolated and alone, and you know, lay friends can really help kind of co-create or work together on this. So that would be, I guess. So I'm very lucky with my group because they really have that vision in their heart. They really are so happy to have a bhikkhuni in New Zealand. I feel very appreciated. I feel very well supported. And I know in all of their hearts, they have this vision to have the bhikkhu and bhikkhuni Sangha flourishing where we are here. And so for me, I just feel very, very lucky. Like we just kind of have this vision together, we're holding it together, we're working together. And so I feel very well supported and very well connected, and I feel appreciated. And also my lay friends, you know, their practice is very good, probably as good as mine, I would say. And so we like brothers, you know, sisters together. Actually, it's largely a group of women, and you know, we're Dhamma practitioners together with this vision. Yeah. And also they allow me to be a bhikkhuni. They're very happy for me to be staying with the practice and to be teaching them. And in my case, they're happy to do a lot of the administrative duties and to let me have a simple monastic life and to share from that. So yeah, that's my situation, and I just feel like that's very special. So I do feel very, very supported here. Yeah. In those ways. So.
That's wonderful. Are you the only bhikkhuni in the Theravada tradition? I think you are, right, in New Zealand?
No, actually, there's one Korean Mahayana. She was in the Korean tradition, and she's converted to Theravada. So she actually has a meditation center in the north. She and a Korean bhikkhu, they're both now Theravada, and they also have a place. So there's 2 of us, yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, so it's more of a thing that there is bhikkhunis and bhikkhus. Maybe there's not quite so much opposition, or not quite so much dominance, perhaps, by the bhikkhu sangha as would be found over here.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, no, there's another Vietnamese bhikkhuni who is also in the Theravada tradition and lived in Sri Lanka for 11 years. So she's in Wellington. I haven't met her yet. Yeah, our bhikkhus are fairly open, not entirely, but there are a few. And I'm very lucky with my local bhikkhu. Like from the first time he met me 10 years ago, he's like, okay, so when are you setting up a place? Wow. And I'm, again, just incredibly fortunate. You know, he invites me to his place for teachings. I can lead meditation groups there. He's really like, again, we're working together as brother and sister. And he's older and a very wonderful monastic with very wonderful meditation. He's very quiet, but you can really feel he's cultivated well, and he has a lot of loving kindness. And so, yeah, I'm extremely lucky. It's amazing to come back to my home city and just have these incredible supportive conditions. Yeah.
Do you miss having other bhikkhunis around?
At the moment, I guess I'm feeling because I'm feeling quite well connected. I mean, you know, we talk, I'm in touch with my, so no, not so much at the moment. Over time, though, I feel like it will be strengthening to have, even having 2 or 3 makes a huge difference. Like you're starting to have a sangha, you're starting to have a community, and that will create a container, I think, that will carry things forward. So, you know, this isn't about me, right? Sure. This is about creating the Bhikkhuni Sangha in New Zealand. Yeah. And so I think that becomes clearer once you have a few monastics working together. It feels like that will be a lot stronger in terms of the way we take things forward. So I am looking forward to having companions, but right now I'm very happy just by myself and being very quiet.
And you're with your mum, right? So
we're looking for a place. we're looking for a place, but we don't have one yet. And I'm with my mom. My mom's very quiet.
Yeah.
She's very lovely. And so I am very lucky. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you so much. I think I've had lots of time to ask you things that are not only perhaps of interest to others, but that are certainly of interest to me. And it's nice to hear, you know, your perspective in a more kind of structured way, because often we chat together and talk about all kinds of nitty-gritty, but it's really nice just to sort of have another view on these kind of fairly basic things, but important things. So thank you, Ayya. I really enjoyed hearing you. And I would really like to open up for others to ask Venerable anything you wish. By the way, the word Ayya and Venerable are the same word. It's just Ayya is the Pali version. And Venerable, I like it because it's gender neutral and people understand the word.
I just have to say, Ayya is also gender neutral, even though it's generally used for the bhikkhunis. In the ordination ceremony, we do address the bhikkhus as Ayya.
Yes,
so,
but in reality, it's not.
In reality, it's not.
Yeah.
Say the root, I think this is just an important point though, you know, the root of the words, whereas Ayya is gender neutral. Bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, again, it's the underlying similarity that's emphasized. So in a way, I actually like to refer to all monastics as monastics. I feel like monk and nun almost emphasizes gender too much. So I really think if we look in the original language, even for monk and nun, you know, nun was actually for male and female. Monk was for male and female. If we look at the original Greek and the original Latin. And so I do think, you know, there is an underlying similarity that's emphasized in terms of we're all in this together. We all have a common life. It's, you know, that is emphasized more than the gender difference. So I just think that's important. That is reflected in the early language. I even think these cases of Bhante being used for the woman. So the gender is not so much emphasized, more than the underlying dedication to the path.
At least in theory. But it is an important point, and I always try to use the word monastic, especially when I'm reading from the suttas and it says bhikkhu. I change it to monastics always. So I like that word. Great. So I'd like to invite other people to ask anything you wish, and it can also be about practice, because, you know, bhikkhunis have practiced for many years. So if you have any doubts about your meditation, you can also ask to either of us, but I would really prefer if Ayya has a chance to speak and share. You can raise your hand using the raise hand button, or write a message in the box. And as I said, you won't be recorded on video, but only your voice will be heard. So it is really lovely to hear from different people and to hear someone's voice. So I think my co-host will unmute you and say your name.
Venerable, should I say their name, or did you want to keep it anonymous?
You can say their name. It's their first name.
Okay. So it says David. I'm just going to unmute.
Hello, it's Terry. It's David's computer. I'm intrigued. What is the historical relevance of this total reluctance to accept female bhikkhunis by Burma and Thailand? How did that become the way of the Sangha in those countries? As Ayya said, you know, we're all the same, whether we're male or female. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think that's a very good question. And I'm not a historian, but I think one thing I would like to acknowledge is that I think, you know, there were bhikkhunis in Burma. This is something we need to realize. There were a very strong community of bhikkhunis. I think they died out at least in 1200. I'm not sure when that died out. And in Thailand too, there's evidence for bhikkhunis in the Sukhothai period, and some evidence for bhikkhunis even 200 years ago. But this memory, this is dropped from the cultural memory for whatever reason. And so if you ask the average Burmese person, they'll be adamant that there were never bhikkhunis there, but there's actually stone inscriptions that show there was. And so people have this kind of identification with the Bhikkhu Sangha, not the Bhikkhuni Sangha. In Sri Lanka, Sri Lankans tend to connect with Bhikkhunis a bit more easily because Sanghamita is within their cultural memory. And this has been very suppressed. Like, I think there is an active suppression of the memory of Bhikkhunis. So when people think of Sangha, they just think of Bhikkhus. What is the historical reason? I'm not sure. I mean, you know, lots of people say the influence of Brahmanism. Perhaps that was one thing. Also, Bhikkhunis simply died out, right? And so, and also, I don't know, I mean, maybe some of it was the Western colonization of these countries. So the woman I've heard, again, I'm not, this is what I've heard, that, you know, the women in Myanmar and Thailand and that were quite strong. And then with the Victorian times, when you had Britain colonizing a lot of these countries, they had a lot different ideas about female and male and the relationship between them. And to some extent that was absorbed by the culture. So even the clothes you see the nuns wearing, when we fully, you know, the arms are covered, that's actually against the Vinaya. And if you look at these traditional countries and you still see traditional, you know, laywomen there, you'll see more like, you know, what they wear in India. You just have a kind of, you know, bare shoulders and maybe a chest covering. And so it might be partly actually Western influence, but I don't know. I'm not a historian, but these are just some of the pieces. So, you know, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then there's the history of the Sangha itself, Ayya, right? You know, the kind of discussion or disagreements around whether the Bhikkhuni ordination can actually be reinstated and how.
Right. That's true. And that's taken a lot of research to kind of counter those arguments. Yeah.
So in other words, it's possible. We can do it if we want to.
Yeah.
Rob has a question.
Hello. I just wanted to ask and get your thoughts on the best ways for stilling the mind.
That's a good question. One thing is, of course, relaxing the body and bringing the mind into the body. So I think if the body's not deeply relaxed and grounded, then it's hard for the mind to become relaxed and grounded. The other way, the other aspect would be to use reflections that settle down the defilements. So one way is to, you know, once the body is relaxed, really bring to mind memories of when you've been deeply peaceful and let the mind connect with that. Bring into mind things that you might be grateful for, and that tends to still, you know, that seems to still any kind of craving or agitation like greed. And also love, you know, just thinking of the people that we love and that we feel connected to, that calms down, you know, a lot of the pain we can have kind of twirling around about relationships. So I think, yeah, both relaxing the body and also bringing wholesome or inspiring reflections into the mind, and then it calms down. Like normally when our mind is agitated, I mean, when we think of something inspiring, right, we more, that inspiration tends to settle the mind down, like it's the defilements that are pushing us. So, yeah.
It's really interesting just to note that in that answer, there was nothing said about a particular meditation object, but it was really focused on the preparation work And I think many of us can relate to that from the retreat that quite a few of us joined with Ajahn Brahmali, where he talked so much about this. Not so much about relaxing the body, actually, although Ajahn Brahm always emphasizes that, and I also try to emphasize that, but certainly finding ways to incline the mind towards the wholesome, towards the good, as a preparation. And as Ayya said, it also helps undermine any unwholesome states, you know, like the 5 hindrances get weakened. So that sounds really skillful, you know, and seeing the particular antidotes to certain things, such as gratitude or loving kindness as an antidote to ill will. Yeah, it's very beautiful. So it's an aspect of the right effort, which comes, of course, in the path right before samasati. I really appreciate that.
Shirley.
It's actually not a question, it's an observation. And I just really find that, and I've used relaxing the body, I've used some of the things suggested by Ajahn Brahmali, like reflecting on one's acts of generosity and goodness. But I haven't actually really focused on wise friends before. And I just thought your meditation this evening, Venerable, that was very calming. And also thinking of all the things, so many times the Buddha says wise friendship is the sort of root cause for all sorts of beneficial things, and is actually the whole of the spiritual life. So I'd like to thank you for that, Venerable, because that actually, I found that very conducive to stilling my mind. So thank you. It's just an observation.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, that definitely came from the heart, because I really, you know, how I value this community and feel connected to all of you, having practiced together for so long. But just having, you know, another Bhikkhuni join and someone who I consider a good friend, a good Kalyana Mitta on the path, just, yeah, naturally that was in my mind, you know, as a reflection. And I think for me, because I tend to feel, especially with this project, that I'm doing a lot from myself, from my own, off my own kind of back, if you like, or from my own head, like having to inspire myself and come up with ideas and ways to progress things. It's really helpful to just allow myself to feel held, allow myself to remember that there is a container, actually. And I can trust that and give to that, you know, give some of that trying, some of that, some of that will, I suppose, away. And also by doing that, give a gift to the community. So, yeah. Sometimes I also use a reflection whereby I sit, especially if I'm agitated, actually, and I feel that my meditation won't really go anywhere. I just say, doesn't matter. I sit down anyway, because the Buddha asked me to, and I just do it for him. I just give it as a gift for the Buddha, you know, because we gain these teachings, we gain this path from the Buddha, and he served selflessly with a full heart of compassion for 45 years, you know. And I just say, okay, this is for the Buddha. And it really helps the letting go. Yeah.
Also, I just was going to add just one small thing. I know that during my Bhikkhuni training, one reflection that Ayya Adhi used to share sometimes was that when they're in community, when she was in her early days of training, they were taught to be as if they were alone. So to give each other the space to practice. But when they were alone, even for many years in the hermitage, then to practice as if they were together with Sangha. So to really keep the Sangha in their hearts. So I think that's very beautiful.
Yeah, that's beautiful too. Because I often think that the purpose, in a sense, the higher purpose really of establishing harmonious communities is so that we do have a safe enough environment to then go into solitude and be alone, because the busyness and the conflict is all resolved. So you develop this beautiful spiritual friendship as part of the preparation for your practice, but also as a way of calming down, settling down any disputes, any conflicts in the mind, and then establishing a sense of trust and harmony, so that we then feel settled enough within ourselves that we can be alone. And I know for me, I mean, I went to Asia when I was really young at 19. But a big piece in that actually was having a best friend from the age of 4 and growing up with such unconditional love from my friend that it gave me the kind of inner confidence somehow, the feeling that I wasn't alone in this world, to then do things alone. Actually, we went together, but we ended up alone after about a month, and we went our separate ways for several years. And it was really strange because I thought, having grown up so closely with someone, that we are missing the other. But actually, we were both really confident in ourselves through that friendship. Someone says, Udayanti, I think you met Udayanti, Venerable. Really happy to see Ven Adhimutti on screen, who I met in Sri Lanka a long time ago, perhaps in 2012.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, yeah. And yeah, Dr. Udayanti and a group of women then supported me, so a lot of appreciation for that. I had a lovely time in Kanda with Bhante Piemasuri. She was part of the group that supported that. So.
And she also came out to me, I think, through our connection. Udayanti came around twice, I think, to offer dana here. Yeah, once you came, Udayanti, and then once I think your daughter came over as well. That's really nice. Good. Any more practice questions or any questions on any topic, or just, you don't even have to have a question, anything you'd like to share? I think Ayya Adhi. Oh, there we go. Rob's got his hand up again. I think that you're actually bestowing a sense of peace on everybody here.
Have you got any advice for staying motivated to practice meditation on a regular basis?
Just, I guess, well, just reflecting on the Buddha, and I guess also doing death reflection. You know, we don't know how long we have. I mean, today you can walk out and it's all over. So the time we have as human beings is just so precious and so fleeting. And we don't know. I mean, it's so rare to come into touch with the Dhamma and these teachings. You know, we don't know how many lifetimes it took for us to get this opportunity. And we don't know when we're going to get it again. So just to reflect like this, you know, we really just have to use every second we've got. So I think if you bring up these reflections, especially the reflection on death, really, really reflecting that, you know, we can die anytime, then I think the motivation comes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Diana has a question.
Yes, I was wondering, Ayya, if you have a personal goal for your practice and your life as a bhikkhuni.
Well, the realization of Nibbana. Really? Well, that's what it's all about. Yeah, and in my life as a bhikkhuni, I guess to open the way for as many people as possible, and especially for women, you know, that women can see that, you know, they can go all the way, and they can have the conditions and the support to completely dedicate themselves to, you know, to the life, if they want, of a bhikkhuni, that there's no glass ceiling for them. So that would be the thing, you know. But of course, the realization of Nibbana and the practice has to be at the heart of that, because I think if people come, to monastics or wanting to ordain, that's really often at the heart of what are interested in. So, yeah.
Thank you for asking that, Diana. That's really funny because on my list, that was the last question that I actually left out. And I wonder, could I ask a question, Ayya? Because I think along with what you just said, there's this thought that keeps coming to me, especially it came yesterday while I was watching Ajahn Brahm give a live talk for Vesak to the Melbourne group. And he spoke a lot about his teachers, about Ajahn Chah, about the monks he lives with, and monks and monks and monks, and this monk and that monk. And it was really nice. But then I noticed that were probably 70% of the people in the audience were women, and especially a lot of women who looked to be of maybe Chinese origin, maybe Malaysian, Singapore, Indonesian people were there. There were also men there. But I asked the question, I said, you know, how important is representation? Because most of the people here are women. And it's very inspiring to hear about these senior monks. But when we don't hear stories, when we don't hear examples of women, I think that also creates an unconscious barrier because we don't have anything to reflect back to us our potential. So I'm wondering if that's also part of how you envisage being able to serve the Bhikkhuni Sangha, the establishment of the Bhikkhuni Sangha.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I agree with you. I think it's very inspiring, you know, hearing about these bhikkhu teachers and these bhikkhu arahants and going to the sacred sites. But there's like a little bit of a disconnect. And I was very, very lucky. I mean, my teacher, Ayya Loka, my bhikkhuni preceptor, I was really delved into bhikkhuni history. And when we were in Sri Lanka, we went to visit some of the sacred sites of the first bhikkhunis. We went to see a cave monastery that was inhabited by bhikkhunis. And you just feel a direct connection, like, this is you, you know? And so for myself, yeah. And also I've been very lucky. I got to know Jitsu Martins and Pomo a little bit, Venerable Karma Lecture Somo a little bit. And I think in terms of, you know, I really hold them in my mind as inspiration. Because there is that, yeah, direct connection, which just feels very enlivening and very empowering and very immediate. And like, yeah, in a way that reflecting on the bhikkhu teachers isn't to the same extent for me, even though I'm inspired by them. Yeah.
Right, yeah. You know, it's interesting for me because my understanding of how much representation matters, and as you say, that directness and immediacy, was established most profoundly and most strongly when I saw the statue of Patachara, who I now have here. And it's this incredibly beautiful hibiscus wood carving of one of the great Bhikkhuni Arahats in the Buddha's day, a Savaka Arahati, a fully enlightened disciple of the Buddha who was a great teacher. And I think many of you know her story. And when I saw that statue, there was just a feeling of like love that arose in my heart. And I do love that statue. I know it isn't the statue, it's something that she's representing, because the person who carved it was so skillful in bringing out these qualities of serenity, deep equanimity, and, you know, just knowing that story of all the things that she went through and overcame, to see her looking so strong and yet not really vulnerable, but very gentle and very deeply serene. It was just visceral. It was really visceral for me. I think for others in the community too, who saw that on the Facebook page, because we got a lot of comments and offers of support to bring her here. But we do need more living bhikkhunis who, you know, progress significantly on this path towards enlightenment as well, of course. Are there any other comments or questions?
Melanie has a question.
Hello, thank you very much. My question is, I was trying today to explain to my family what equanimity was about, and as practicing equanimity, and I could tell them more or less about metta, about compassion, and mudita, but equanimity I couldn't explain very well, because I think I don't understand quite well how it relates to the other quality that we're supposed to develop during the practice. So if you could try to explain a little bit to me. Thank you.
Okay. Good question. So equanimity, I mean, just the quote that came to mind is like walking evenly over uneven ground. And if we think about the other Brahma Viharas like metta or karuna or mudita, I mean, if we really have a lot of metta for a friend, right, then in that relationship, there will be difficult times, you know, and I mean, there's ups and downs in a relationship. And so to be able to kind of stay even and stay strong and stay open to that friend and all of their different, I don't know, all of the different aspects of the relationship, then it takes a certain evenness, a certain centeredness, a certain strength, which I think equanimity brings. Yeah. It's just this, I mean, like, you know, there's times when we might be facing a lot of difficulty in our life, but inside we have this feeling of calmness and peace. And even though we have to face many challenges, we're somehow keeping our balance in the middle of these many challenges that are coming to us. Or if we're looking after someone, you know, who might be dying or very sick, then we have to keep our peacefulness, our balance, even while we're attending to many difficult things. So I think that kind of balance, that peace, it brings a lot more depth and stability to these other qualities that and to life. Like as we're meeting the many things in life, we're not just reacting to them, but we're able to just keep our in a tranquility or whatever, in a steadiness and respond to whatever life brings to us. So I don't know, maybe Venerable Chanda also has some thoughts about that. But that's kind of how I would maybe explain that quality. You know, it's a very profound quality, right? And in the way it's at the center of the path, that ability to stay steady and not to either, you know, have aversion or craving to whatever life brings to us. Yeah. So if we see something very beautiful, you know, can we really be with the beauty without, you know, craving for it? Or if something terrible happens to us, you know, we might feel that impact of whatever's happening, but can we not add a second dart to it? Something like that.
Thank you.
I think anything I would add would only complicate it, because that was just absolutely beautiful. I was making notes. It was just so concise and clear, and I particularly resonated with what you said about staying strong and open to the difficulties, for example, in a relationship, because I think that brings in the aspect of the other Brahma Viharas, as you say. You know, the Upekkha can be a steadying and grounding, a deepening quality, but it's not a kind of indifference or coolness or an aloofness. It's something that's staying connected. And I love that way of explaining it as staying open-hearted. I added the word hearted. Staying open-hearted, you know, with loving kindness, but loving kindness to everything that's contained within that relationship, you know, whether it be the highs or the lows. In a sense, you could see that as a kind of commitment in the context of relationship, you know, not giving in, not giving up on each other, not giving up on oneself, but just understanding in a sense that life is inevitably going to have its ups and downs. The world is unpredictable, unreliable, things can change. governments change, whole political situations, systems change, and just maintaining that sense of inner stability. It's a very high practice indeed. And I think that's why it's the fourth of the Brahma Viharas, because in a sense it contains the others. It's almost like a summation of the other three.
And I think another aspect of it is being really clear about our values and our commitment, which you were kind of touching on, and let that be our North Star, you know, let that be our anchor. And staying connected to that, then, you know, we don't have to react to everything that happens around us, but we are staying connected and aligned with what's most important to us. So just, yeah.
That's beautiful. And that's very similar to something I was trying to say, probably not so articulately, in the interview I just did for Insight Myanmar, actually, about, I was asked to sort of say some words of encouragement for the Myanmar people, which is very difficult from a perspective of someone very comfortable over here in the West right now, who it affects very deeply, in the sense that that was my, you know, spiritual home that birthed my holy life. And yet, who am I to give advice? How can I give advice when I've never been in anything like that kind of, you know, turmoil? It's more than just turmoil, it's like threat to people's lives. And I think, you know, what I had hoped to bring out there was that if we do stay aligned to our values and we do stay committed to a life of non-harm, then that is going to carry us forward, no matter what the loss may be at the physical level. You know, that is what we carry with us in the end, right? We carry our goodness, our qualities, our motivations, and that in a sense is our karma, right? Our motivation, the quality of our intention determines our long-term happiness or suffering. I think that also can be part of it, having that long-term perspective. Equanimity can help give a sense of perspective. It's like climbing to a mountaintop and seeing things from above, with that space, but also an overview of the situation of samsara that we're in. Because samsara isn't meant to be pleasant. It cannot be pleasant. It cannot be ultimately satisfying or a stable place to take refuge in. You know, and I think equanimity can help us to see that and to remain realistic about that, and yet also rise above. You know, and see that the job is more than just staying equanimous to things, but actually getting out.
Right. I mean, we have many, many lives, right? This is just one life. This is just one role. And yeah, the most important thing is just keeping our integrity and our values. And I think really plugging into that does just in itself bring equanimity, as you say, keeping the big picture. And also keeping the depth of our aspiration and our sense of value. That becomes like the anchor, the kind of context for our life.
Yeah, and I think just to draw out that last aspect that you touched on there is the virtue that is the foundation for all of those Brahma Viharas, that they are ethical states of mind. You know, they're ethical abidings. They're based on virtue. They're based on non-ill will. Right? And it's from that foundation of virtue that these Brahma Viharas can develop. Beautiful. Wow. Very enriching. I feel touched. And I hope, and I'm sure, that many more of us do as well, not only me. But I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to come and share with us, Ayya. I feel quite privileged that you spent time here. And that I have Bhikkhuni sisters who I feel I can, you know, introduce to the community, being very confident that we will benefit from their wisdom. So thank you very much. And I'd like to invite, I think, Derek to say a few words about generosity now before we end with just maybe a little moment of quiet.
Hi, everyone. I would like to say, first of all, that we are very, very lucky, and I'm sure you'll agree, to have both Bhikkhunis here today with us. It's a very wonderful opportunity, and I thought it was a really interesting and wonderful meeting. So thank you very much to both teachers. I would like to offer you the chance, if you would like to find out more about Ayya Adhimutti's Sangha in New Zealand, then the address to search is bhikkhuni-sangha.org.nz. But Ayya Adhimutti has very generously and out of friendship come here to support the Anukampa project. So if you too would like to support the Anukampa project, then you'll be able to find out more information about making a donation at anukampaproject.org/donate. And if you'd be interested in finding out how you could support Venerable Chanda's food needs or volunteering for the project, then you can email us at team@anukampaproject.org. All of the information is in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. Beautiful. Thank you. That was so beautifully done. And just trying to think what day it is now. It's Sunday, is it? So yeah, our next meeting, I think, will be on Wednesday with chanting and dedications. And we chant Metta Sutta and dedicate it to those who may need a little support. And then I guess it will be the Friday evening Sutta class. And I am in the process, mentally, of writing a newsletter, which I hope will come out before I have to leave. And the program for me will continue until mid-June, or even maybe the day before I go into my retreat, which is around the 21st of June this year. I'm having an extra month on top of my veins, because to compensate for missing out on a longer retreat that was planned. But we are very grateful to have 4 sessions during that time offered by other bhikkhunis. So one bhikkhuni will be offering a session once a month, and also there'll be a peer-led session once a month. So in other words, 2 meetings a month for you while I'm on my retreat. And I'd like to thank the whole community, for your support to the Bhikkhuni Sangha and to the Dhamma, your own practice, because it's just really such a valuable, precious thing in this world. And one of the ways that, you can support the flourishing of the Bhikkhuni Sangha is to allow us and support us having opportunities to go a little bit more deeply in our practice, so that the teachings can come from a more resourced and insightful place. So I'm hoping to recharge my batteries during the mains retreat. And I think Ayya Adhi is actually going to be doing some teaching for her groups in New Zealand, but I'm not sure if that's live or not. But I'm sure you can find lots of online Dhamma, and now you've made that connection with her as well. So yeah, just really want to thank you again, Ayya. It's been lovely, really, really lovely to see you and to share a beautiful Dhamma discussion. So shall we unmute everyone and allow you to wave goodbye? We usually get a bit boisterous at the end.